Welcome, everybody, to Flat Earth Nation, now called Mudflood was Armageddon, but it is still a Flat Earth Nation. Now we know Mudflood was Armageddon, and we're not going to let anybody tell us anything else unless they're willing to debate us in a fair and honest way. And hopefully, I was contacted on the 16th by Jeranism to go on to their they're looking for someone for me to debate about Flat Earth Nation, and Armageddon Past. So I think it's a super exciting time. And this is going to be a super exciting, theologically deep, philosophically steep hill to climb. I'm going to start by telling you just a little bit of what I believe and hopefully what the Spirit will help you with to get ready and prepare with tonight. What I believe about evil conspiracies, they love to hide the truth. There's an old parable that talks about the truth like the sun and the moon. They can be eclipsed, but they will always be revealed. And here's a failed haiku. First 5 syllables of a haiku. If anybody wants to pick it up from here, I didn't have time. Big talkers believe. And, I was going to go like, big talkers believe what? That they're brave until they're, forced into a situation where they might scuff their nails. Or big talkers, believe there is no God until Judgment Day. So I didn't know where to go. Continuing, I wrote, this is a rescue from what? And that was a question for Shucksville. So Shucksville and Matt G, put your answers in. I'm just kidding. That's my way of saying hi to Matt G that just got here, and Shucksville, who we were talking for a couple of minutes here. I've been kind of busy, but this is a rescue from what? No matter what anybody else puts down, my answer is premeditated murder. Our rescue of what I'm teaching for is that it seems to be clear in Revelation 20, there is a city that is going to be encompassed about, and fire will come down from heaven and rescue them. So some of you, even though we missed Armageddon, you're not going to meet him in the sky and rule and reign for 1,000 years. You're going to be rescued, and boom, the next verse is, hey, the great white throne of judgment is here. It really is. Revelation 20 verse 10, and right after that rescue of where some of you alive today will be rescued, it isn't 1,000 years. So we know there are two different events. And so what this is a rescue from is premeditated murder. And like they have one playbook. They used humans to kill humans before. And now they're going to do it. If you think that some people aren't wrapped up enough right now to kill whitey because they're white or kill a black person because they're black, you're not paying attention. And if we lived in India instead of the United States, 63.7% of you, we could say, well, those, the Hindus just don't understand us Muslims. They're so violent, and then vice versa. But what is being overlooked in all of this? And I have been, pounding 1 John 3 verse 8, where it talks about Jesus came into the world to deal with Satan. Not because he looked down the corridor of time and saw you with the curling iron curling your hair and said, I've got to die for the most precious thing in the world. And he died for you. Well, he died for an elect some people who were going to be a part of this situation: one called, two chosen, three faithful. Could this be about this premeditated murder, these demons, these angels, the bad angels who fell, who some they say will be judged by at least those in the first resurrection, and it might be implied that their judgment isn't any different than ours, where we're going to see the intent of every person's heart. We'll know what Satan was thinking. And remember, Satan fell, tempted Eve, and he had not yet had this dust-eating serpent-like effect as a punishment for that act of continuous sin. Bad angels are trying to kill every human. And I remember I didn't even have to put down, say this with emphasis. I just remembered it because when I read it, I'm there like, oh yeah, that's what they are. There's some bad angels out there that are trying to kill every human. Because a lot of this, what it came down to is that when Jesus came into the earth and all angels were supposed to be like down with the plan. Do you see? Because right now, at least when the Bible was written to the people it was written to, the ones who were raptured in their Armageddon event in that generation, they were very much waiting on it. Using humans to kill humans, smart people need to face facts. So what? Who cares if we know the truth? They don't care. They got 90, whatever percent of the wide road it is, they're locked in on them. Done deal. And in their mind, Gog and Magog is going to work. They're going to get their separation somehow. Some foresee it, as I did 4 years ago when I was talking about some sort of like a medical type of a situation. And as I wrote in a book in 2008 where I talked about, you remember I've talked about it before, I read portions of it, where people are coming out of the caves in the third generation being released information. And this is before any of us ever heard of Mudflood. And it was 7 years before the Lord convinced me that post-millennialism was not enough. Jesus Christ had already returned. And even though it was 35 years in between the light of the Lord shining behind me, giving me directions, it didn't take long to realize this is that same thing that told me in 1981 that everything that Jesus ever said was true. I lived that, but then a veil got lifted and all of a sudden the stones were crying out. The math was working out, but the history wasn't. And the fact that I was supposed to be this great language prodigy, and it took me that long to realize, wait, this book was written to those people first person singular, so it must have happened to them, or this book is not true. And that is evident. When people hear that right now, they all go back to their first year of, I before E except after C. They're like, oh yeah, that book was written to them. And then you either can't unhear that and what that entails. And I'm just trying to prepare you for what we're going to be studying tonight. This is going to be so hard. Fat Kenny is not the god of books. That's my next thing there. Oh, no, wait, I said they plan your murder at Gog and Magog. I kind of filled that in. Demons don't care if the narrow road is correct. They plan your murder at Gog and Magog. Wherever that is, whatever really that is. I mean, a lot of people like to think it's money and technology, and they got me leaning that way. It just seems You should hear them go on about it. I mean, they'll wear you down. It's a lot of money in technologies. Like the love of money and technology is the root of all kinds of evil. And their money they're using technology, whatever it is, they'll wrap it up and put a bow on it. And if you the best you better kind of agree. It seems like, at least I do. Here now, this verse, I will not leave you orphans. That has never meant more to me right now. I can't even remember what that is. What is that? Mark chapter 9 or something? I have it pulled up. We'll be looking at hard. We'll be looking at that hard. We have and all that was just a warm up to tell you if you're into Zionism or if you've been sending money, it's because you think those are real Jews over there starving. This is not your show. This is not for you. You're not going to like it. You're going to do like my favorite, most ignored Three Stooge, Curly Joe. You're going to want to give me such a punch. Took me a while to warm up to him too, I know. So let's look at some of these things.
Reason why you will never see a good book. I'm the god of books. When it comes to hardcore books on genuine metaphysics, sun, the moon, and the truth. This is the same reason why you will never see a good book. I'm the god of books. When it comes to hardcore books on genuine metaphysics.
You win a few prizes in math. There's something about, just because, obviously it's not the Dunning-Kruger effect with Fat Kenny. And even he calls himself a tattooed monkey boy, so don't tease me, But he's not the god of books, man. That's just nuts. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do that right now. What Shucksville was telling me the other day is to turn my phone on so that, because all that time I was kind of like in the back of my mind, not as focused as I should be on you, because I was worried, like, am I sharing? Oh, wow, that is a spooky thumbnail I picked out tonight. That's weird. Super weird. Big old eye with a couple of 34s on it. No, that's not weird. That was in like a shop in Tel Aviv in 1920 that was hanging outside their window, and they're like, that's cool, man. I got some other cool pictures here too. What's that? Well, that is this. That's supposed to be the poem that William Shakespeare wrote for himself when he died. It's pretty sad. A lot of weird things, a lot of, capital letters like are weird, like the way this THE is. See, look at that's weird, huh? They got these extra T's up here. Pretty weird stuff, right? Got a period here. Weird, man. Supposedly, hey. And after I turned it on and said I was going to do that, I didn't do it. This is another one. Well, I'll show this one in a minute. I'll go in the order. There you go. This is a sign still hanging up there, but it was put up in like 1923 in Tel Aviv. That's somewhere mysterious. This is the actual stone, and this is the improved, so you can read the bad poetry better. But even on this one, if you ask me, doesn't it look like somebody's been chipping around on some of these letters? And is that really an A? Where's its line across the middle? Am I remembering that? Yeah, see, all of the other A's, there's at least 4 there, 5 now. You know, there's just clearly no A. Would they just leave the small one and only do the lines on capitals? Or what they call capitals? But they look like every letter's supposed to be a capital. Right? Every letter's a capital. And doesn't this whole area look chipped out? And this is supposed to be the same thing as this, a T and a Y. Mysterious. This is an example of biliterary code where it's supposed to be some mysterious code for capital letters. Also can mean this. It looks like they're trying to chant a spell or something. And here's something at a museum. I just thought that a lot of weird letters in that too. When did they start? I mean, you can track history. When did they? Well, there's a Q. All right. So 1616 with the Q. There's a U, but it's a V. Well, we still have those in. They were being built into what they say are the 1910s through the 1920s. And some of them, you know, oh, to honor Greek, we used a V. Come on. No, you didn't. It's John 14, verse 18. I will not leave you as orphans. I will not leave you desolate. Desolate, comfortless, orphans. We're going to pick it up Ephesians chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in Christ with every spiritual blessing in the heavenly realms, for he chose us in him before the foundation of the world to be holy and blameless in his presence. Thank goodness we can count on him to take care of that part for us. Now, the holiness part, he wants us to be separate. That means holy. But the blameless part, he made us blameless. Because on our own, oh boy, we don't want to go there. In love, he predestined us for adoption. That's what I'm getting at. And everything that Jesus says is true. I'm getting to the part about the Kabbalah. If you're new here. we're reveling in, or recently, the last couple of years, we're really into adoption now, okay? So every chance we get to find it like this, we're going to jump on it. I am. Look at this. So it's got having predestined us for divine adoption as sons. Why? It was his own good pleasure, according to the kind intention of his will. His kind intention. Some people were preaching Christ to get at Paul, but some were from goodwill. And in 2 Thessalonians, all the good pleasures of his goodness. It's that. Pleasing the Lord. That's why. Isn't that cool? Adoption. Romans 8:15, the spirit of adoption to place legally, properly, as a son, because of the laws of adoption that were incorporated by God himself. That is your son. Equal inheritance, everything. Jesus is the ultimate promise keeper. Adoption as a son into the divine family. You received a spirit of adoption. We eagerly await adoption as sons. This is a gospel of glory, belongs to the adoption as sons. That's to whom it belongs. So that, hold fast so that we might receive the adoption. And again in Ephesians 15, because he has predestined us according to his own good will and pleasure, he has adopted us. It is used to denote a relationship what God was pleased to establish between himself and the Israelites in preference to all other nations. B, the nature and condition of the true disciples of Christ, who by receiving the Spirit of God into their souls become the sons of God. Didn't we already look at Romans 8:15, Galatians 4 verse 5, and Ephesians 1.5? I repeated for hope that somebody has a notebook out there. And what are you, here we go. Like, all right, yay. And it was written to them, and it happened to them. Romans 8:15. Even the Israelites, they didn't choose themselves. God didn't appear to Moses not knowing how, where he came from. Now, there's an adoption in this. But I think that they used it as a different word. Through Isaac shall the offspring be called. Counted as offspring. That offspring might be adopted, because counted as offspring, but the children of the promise are counted as offspring. So that implies, it's like, we're counted as it. Yay. least that's what I'm getting out of there. Oh, and you know, along with the belongs the adoption up here again to the Jews, they're talking about they didn't choose themselves. God used them for his example of giving somebody everything and then them throwing it away. Tons of these verses on predestination, even more on other versions of the word. Both of these also just mean been determined beforehand, predetermined, appointed, determined, declared. Beforehand. And it's, you know, look at this one. But we speak of God in the mystery, the wisdom of God in a mystery, having been hidden, which was foreordained, and we know now, predetermined by God before the ages, for the glory of those people who the Bible were written to. And it says in the ages to come, which would have included that promised 1,000 years and then the time when Satan's loose. Those are the last two ages. Here's that Sophian wisdom the theosophists like to make so much about because it mostly involves like Solomon, Pharaoh. I'm not sure it's in and of itself evil. This is not part of the show, but it could be. It's pretty darn cool.
This region for 3 years, but was ultimately beaten back. He also launched a renewed attempt to capture Chengdu, which proved unsuccessful. Nanzhao wasn't all about war, however, and also left a rich cultural legacy.
Like I said, this is actually, you know, if you haven't heard of this country, it was something that I just enjoyed studying. I thought it was really cool.
He now offered to switch sides if he be granted permission to conquer his regional rivals. This offer was accepted, and by 737 he had managed to unite the remaining 5 Zhao into one kingdom, loyal to the Tang. Since the Manchu was the sub-power, it managed to withstand several Chinese invasions and conquer areas from its neighbors in all directions. It also boasted an advanced system of government, its own brand of Buddhism, and monumental works of architecture. Its name was the Kingdom of Nanzhao.
The kingdom of, I've heard of the rape of Nanking. All right. So everybody's here that's going to get here. Looks like Relo, and what we have here now are pictures of red blood cells that now, due to circumstances, I'm not sure what I'm looking at. But let's just get something clear here. I'm not a doctor, and I'm not intending to give any medical advice. I'm a Bible teacher. But someone in Argentina who mirrors my videos makes his own videos, so I watch them every now and then. They're like what you just saw. He sends me medical stuff and I read it. But last night, my mind went wild. now that I see that something's happened and red blood cells are stacking on each other like magnets, thus enhancing the potential for blood clots everywhere underneath this vaulted dome flat earth. So I thought I'd let you know, and I got some other stuff about, oh, I haven't finished going through all of what we're going to be studying yet. So hold on, we'll get back to that new info from LifeScope Viscopatry. I had to look it up, but it does affect, you know, it's stacking them like magnets. See how it's trying to suck me back away from finishing out what I'm talking about today? Anyway, it should, you know, you probably understand it better than I do. Because let's face it, I'm old, man. When you get old and stoned when you're tired, it's like, wow, that's strike two already. Nimrod, the Bible doesn't say one negative thing about him. But there's sure a lot of weird negative stuff put out in the book of Enoch and the Zohan and all of those other Jewish apocryphal books. I wonder why they want to it's kind of like they dealt it, they smelt it, but they don't want to admit it. And they're saying, no, it was Nimrod, not us. We're God's chosen ones. That just doesn't float. We'll look hard at that. Then we're going to get back. These are out of order. You know, we always hear about anaerobic steroids. But what is that? And is there a connection or am I, you know, because I'm not a doctor, I don't know. I'm just, people read their emails and stuff.
One of the most fascinating figures in the history of Judaism. Shaman, peripatetic healer, soothsayer, heretic, Jewish holy man. These are all labels that have at one point or another been attached.
This is your Hasidic Jews today, everybody. See, I'm stopping and dropping commentary. I am not trying to make any money off this video or do anything except use it as a news event of what we're talking about. I'm talking about, look at this beard, look at this hands, look at these hands. Are we looking at sign language? Is that really a wrist? What's this? Who is this guy? What did they call? You got about 10 seconds and I know nobody will do it. Put in the comments, what did they call the founder of the Hasidic Jews? The founder, or at least the person that the Jews now say, because the Hasidic Jews taught Madonna the Kabbalah. The Hasidic Jews are Kabbalistic Jews, mystics, freakazoids. In some people's opinion, other Jews even don't like them. What they call them?
As the Baal Shem Tov, or
Baal. They never left Egypt. The ones that went back and tried to kidnap Jeremiah, they didn't make it, but somehow their information and pouring out offerings to the Queen of Heaven, that's stuck and hid somewhere. And it's the same old story that they're pulling on the world today, and it's working again. Baal worship, baby sacrifice, extend your own life, using theirs, whatever means possible. Their ends justify the means, as the prince told us. I don't know where Machiavelli came from, but it sounds like a bunch of Swahili stuff to me. Wasn't he that Svengoolie? It's mumbo jumbo.
Simply debashed. The name Baal Shem Tov means master of the good name, and the title Baal Shem was given to certain people who used prayers, incantations, herbs, and other techniques that some might call magical or quasi-magical. Most people don't associate such notions to Jewish practice, but history and reality is, of course, more complex.
Yeah. History and reality seems to be sometimes a little complex.
1898, in the small backwater town of Okopi in what was then Podolia, which is now southwestern Ukraine, the Baal Shem Tov was not set up for success in the Jewish world. No great rabbis or scholar lived near him. As I mentioned, he wasn't that notable of a figure, and in fact, his early life.
Oh, I'm too slow to show you the globe in the background. Word travels fast in these back hills. Who is this guy? He's pretty good, huh?
Thought and practice, and had been so for a couple of centuries at that point. And indeed, this is very important to remember, that the Baal Shem Tov and the hasidic movement in general comes out of this Kabbalistic environment, and very deeply steeped in the tradition of Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism. As the sort of in-house Kabbalist in Metzibich, the Baal Shem Tov had his own minyan, a group of 10 followers.
These are my binyam no.
Word Ein Sof means the infinite. And in Lurianic Kabbalah, there is this very famous idea of the tzimtzum, which means contraction, that when the Ein Sof, when God in his absolute form wants to create something, he has to contract within himself, right? He has to create a space within his infinite nature in which the world is created, where he can sort of emanate the light that becomes eventually the created world. And different thinkers, including the Baal Shem Tov, have interpreted this idea of tzimtzum differently, of course, but
yeah, they're all throwing something up against the wall.
Typically, the Shekhinah, what Professor Shaul Magid called the divine indwelling in nature, was present in the world. The Shekhinah is usually conceived of as the last of the 10 Sfirot, as well as a kind of divine feminine principle. But what we see in early...
So now we know to thank for the divine feminine principle. You don't know how many times Native Americans thought I was picking a fight when I'm going like, no, I don't know anything about any feminine God. That to them is fighting words.
Hasidic literature is a sort of blurring of the harsh dividing lines between different Sfirot on the one hand and parts of the Godhead. Now, mapping out this cosmic realm, while hugely important to medieval Kabbalists and dogma to traditional Eastern European Jews of the 18th century, was not nearly as important to the Baal Shem Tov as experiencing the divine. For the Chassid, God is not a...
So I don't want to spend too much time on this one, because this isn't one, that you can sample it, but I've got some others that will explain this to you. But, I like to break down how how the Lord brought me to, what I'm going to present.
Spirit per se. Us humans cannot fully grasp or fathom the glory and essence of the Ein Sof, so he delimited himself in stages, emanating these Sfirot that become less and less hidden or hard to fathom each time. Dobed of Metzdich, also called the Maggid of Metzdich, the Great Maggid, or simply Maggid, and probably the...
Look at it. All these guys are like pre-reset memories of what was going on in the Bible.
Especially younger Jews. Despite its many radical innovations, Hasidism was sort of just accepted, or at least tolerated in most places, but in Lithuania, the story was very different. Some of the Jewish authorities in Lithuania, specifically a man named Elijah ben Solomon Zalman, better known as the Vilna Gaon, launched a vicious multi-year attack against the Hasidim. The Gaon wrote a series of polemics throughout...
Yeah, I'm willing to say right now, just learning about it with you guys, that they were fighting over customers, because these were what, by this time in 1797, first interruption of the night, what you're dealing with were this. Banking houses. You know the names of some of the big Jewish bankers? Oh, I didn't know if I was going to hiccup or what. Hey, in the early modern period that we were just, 1797, and a reset. Since the reset, early in the reset, 1711 on your Gregorian calendar, a court Jew was a Jewish banker who handled the finances of and or lent money to European royalty and nobility, mainly German. Now, who were they? The Hohenzollern and the Habsburgs, double-headed eagle much? Yeah, shakala, like in Boom Shakala. Examples of what would be later called court Jews emerged in the High Middle Ages, when the royalty, the nobility, and the church got in debt from loan shark mafians who started out, said, oh, I know you're a Christian king, but you can't lend money. Let me help you. Goodbye, golden age. Goodbye, stranger. Is this a rabbit trail, or is this something we keep going with? All right. Although the phenomenon of the court Jewry, I'm glad that's in quotes, because I wouldn't want to go around being like, I'm the guy who invented the term court Jewry. Because I'm not. I'm trying to provoke the Jews to jealousy so that they can, in their mind, stop accepting Barabbas. How about let's start there? Let's just set a low bar for humanity. Court Jewry did not occur until the 1600s. Examples of what would later called court Jews can be found earlier in Jewish moneylenders who accumulated through interest enough capital to choose the winners and the losers, and the knee bone's connected to another bone. And there is one of them right there. There he is. Harry Potter's banker. Yes, we love your glasses, Harry Potter. He was living in a cave. The light was blinding him. You like my gold box? Not a lot on the court Jews. This guy doesn't even get a page. He gets a statue, but he doesn't get a page. That will not do. Not for this little court Jew. Bing, bang, Wikipedia does have a page on him. Oh, well, it's small, but they could have linked to it. Oh, I can't go here. I'm trying to not get kicked off. Grave number 220, if you ever get over there and want to go to Wilkersheim, Germany, probably. He funded that house. He built it. Look where I live. I can see my house from here. Was that a rabbit trail from a rabbit trail?
He uses it as a designation for his kind of Kabbalah as compared to the primarily Spanish theosophical group. The latter he calls the Kabbalah HaSfirot, the Kabbalah of the Sfirot, and contrasts this with his own Kabbalah HaShemot, the Kabbalah of the divine names. Now, this is one of those things that is very hard to explain in a short video like this, but it is an aspect that is central in order to fully understand Abulafia. He takes much of his ideas about this subject from the Sefer Yetzirah, the Book of Formations, which is an ancient Jewish mystical text that explores the creation of the universe by God through the twin.
Yeah, well, then you know what? It's zero help. Demon Jews trying to poison your mind. They want you to believe that Christ lives in each one of us, and they don't want you to believe that he walked the earth, bled and died, adopted brothers and sisters, came back and meet them in the air, and now here we are figuring it out because a veil's been lifted.
Means of reaching prophecy, techniques that helps the mystic leave behind the world of imagination and the material world, both often identified with Satan, and to wake up to the divine world of intellect within. A place where our true home and source is realized, and where we can cleave or unite with the active intellect and even with God himself. Luckily for us, we have a lot of writings by both Abulafia himself and some of his followers that gives instructions and accounts of many of these mystical practices in great detail.
Right, and you know that Marina Abramovich, she'll teach you all about them. Here's a couple of more yokels and some stupid quotes.
Hairs of your head will begin to stand up into the storm, and your blood will begin to move out because of the living combination which speaks, and all your body will begin to tremble, and your limbs will begin to shake, and will fear a tremendous fear, and the fear of God shall cover you. This doesn't sound very comforting or pleasant to me. It is only after this initial stage, according to Abulafia, that the mystic then reaches a more kind of ecstatic and pleasant experience. Quote, and you shall feel another spirit awakening within yourself and strengthening you and passing over your entire body and giving you pleasure. And it will seem to you that balm has been poured over you from the crown of your head to your feet once or many times, and you shall rejoice and feel from it a great pleasure with gladness and trembling. What the contents of the further mystical experience is like is depicted in various ways. Many claim experiencing a
right, whatever. So they got it all figured out, right? It's all in your head.
The active intellect. And when you will untie its knot, you will be united with it in a unique union.
That's not how, that's a good work. You doing all this figuring out, you doing the untying its knots, then you'll be united. That's all good works of steps, ladders. It's God who by grace saves, gives gifts to glorify his name. He says, go glorify my name with the gifts I've given you. You're already saved. Go glorify my name. Well, many hear the call, but later they'll say things like, how come you don't appreciate how much I was glorifying God's name? Now I don't believe in God because I don't know what they're thinking.
Another quote, he prophesies according to the entity which causes him to pass from potentiality into the final and perfect actuality. And he become one entity, inseparable during the act. From quotes like this, it becomes...
So let's see. Here we have, some videos we can watch later. This Ian Sof, that means the infinite. Literally without end. Well, that's what it means in Kabbalah. We'll look at that. In Kabbalah is understood as God prior to any self-manifestation. Well, they know how it was going to go down. And they probably know that Jesus, it says, made the earth for himself when he self-manifested. We'll look up the book of Colossians and just read 2 or 3 verses. It'll be hard for me not to read that whole half of verse starting with verse 15, but we're trying to keep this long show somewhat shorter and a little more interesting. Verse 16, for in him all things were created, things in heaven and on earth, visible and invisible, whether thrones or dominions or rulers or authorities, all things were created through him and for him, the Son, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. So we know who he is in the spiritual realm. That's our God. Now, again, they're going to go back to the book of Enoch. Well, that's not Enoch, but he's probably named after that, who shared the Neoplatonic belief that God can have no desire, thought, word, or action. My question is how can he say, I am the God of love. God is love. He in of himself is love. So they're just wrong right out the gate. They are not even really trying. Now, these are your basic diamond selling, formerly court Jews. They winnowed out their rakes into a 1%. They didn't share the pennies. The Hasidic folk, the Hasidism, gave rise to a paradox. Monistic pantheism? Oh, they're talking about the Trinity. That's the only thing that Neoplatonism, consequently Hasidism, focuses on. You know what? We'll come back to it. Kabbalah. That's that school of thought that teaches that Christ lives in your brain. You've heard it from Oprah. You've heard it from Madonna. Christ is in all of us. You can zeitgeist away your life, pretend you're a hip young person learning about cool things when you're actually a trolling cougar MILF trying to, say like, I want to be free. I want to go to Burning Man. No, you want to justify your abortions and false living, and there's plenty of men who will help you. Where'd that come from? Jewish Kabbalists originally developed their own transmission of sacred sex within the realm of Jewish traditions. Yeah, we know what their traditions were. They got called out. Bible break. You ever hear of Moses? I know you did. Who was his number one man? Right. It was Joshua. Well, he laid it out. These guys, he just finished up the 40 years in the desert. He's in charge now. Moses and God has, made all the people trust Joshua, be strong and of good courage. Here's your new leader. And he dealt with it, like a champ. Now, verse 15, we'll start right there in Joshua 24. But if it is unpleasing in your sight to serve the Lord, then choose for yourself this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your fathers served beyond the Euphrates, not good, the gods of the Ammonites, whose in land you are living. So they're already like leaning that way, probably been caught worshiping them based on what's to come. He goes, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. This is God giving them a chance out. Look, don't double down on your breaking of the covenant and all that wanting to go back to Egypt. But they did double down. And the people replied, far be it from us to forsake the Lord, to serve other gods. For the Lord our God brought us and our fathers out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery, and performed these great signs before our eyes. He also protected us through our journey and among all the nations through which we traveled. And the Lord drove out before us all the nations, including the Amorites, one of their choices, who lived in the land. We too will serve the Lord because he is our God. You'd think, okay, good, but Joshua's not finished. Verse 19, but Joshua said to the people, you're not able to serve the Lord, for he's a holy God. He's a jealous God. He will not forgive your rebellion or your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve foreign gods, he will turn and bring disaster on you and consume you, even after he has been good to you. No, the people replied, we will serve the Lord. Then Joshua told them, you are witnesses against yourselves that you have chosen to serve the Lord. Now, you rapture people deal with that any way you want. Linguistically, the veil lifted before my eyes knows how to read a book. No, I'm not the god of books like Fat Kenny claims, nor am I a demiurge of books. I'm someone I know what a book is. I love the Bible. I don't got time for a lot of other books. I've read a lot of other books. Joshua's this is a powerful sentence. You are witnesses against yourself that you have chosen to serve the Lord. We are witnesses Now, therefore, he said, prove it. Get rid of the foreign gods among you. He knew they were worshiping those foreign gods, or he wouldn't have accused them of it. And if you're waiting for them to go, what foreign gods? No. Get rid of the foreign gods among you and incline your hearts to the Lord, the God of Israel. So the people said to Joshua, we will serve the Lord our God and obey his voice. So I don't care what anybody says. There was an Abrahamic covenant that the seed of Israel, that Jesus, in him all nations, that's where we're at. These have already made a covenant and broken it with God. Joshua is going to go on saying God has done his job. He wasn't joking or being rhetorical. It would have been better for them to not claim to know the Lord than to say, I know him, act like they're going to follow him, and then choose Barabbas. Let's don't forget where this ended up. On that day, Joshua made a covenant for the people, and there at Shechem he established for them a statute and an ordinance. Joshua recorded these things in the book of the law, and Joshua sent the people away because they built the tower. And, we still, who knows which one it is today? We don't even know. They lie about all that map and stuff like that. So let's just, chapter 1 of Judges is a, review of the first part of, and Joshua died and he's buried. Who's going to go down first? God said, send Judah. Judah, even, they said, hey, Simeon, will you come with me? And so they just made a mess. Let's just we'll go jump ahead to verse 3. These are the nations, it says in verse 1, that the Lord left to test all the Israelites who had not known any of the wars in Canaan. They were in the desert, if only to teach warfare to the subsequent generations of Israel, especially to those who had not known it formally. Let's see. So these guys all get out there. Now, where is it? Is it verse 2? Did they already say it there? Oh, yeah, it was verse 2, chapter 2, I'm sorry, verse 10 and 11. It took that long. After the whole generation had been gathered to their fathers, that means the people that were like, Joshua and Caleb, I guess. When they died, the others, well, we'll just say, gathered to their fathers. Another generation rose up who did not know the Lord or the works that he had done for Israel. Verse 11, and the Israelites did evil in the sight of the Lord to serve who? The Baals. So then they needed judges. Why? Well, it took 2 chapters, man. That's some quick covenant breaking. They just didn't care. God let them double down, triple down, everything else. Whoa, Jeremiah 42. And Jeremiah asked, is this a bad dream? Did the Israelites really just kidnap me and take me back to Egypt? Because they'd rather go back to Egypt than listen to the Lord? Like Jeremiah warned them, don't go back to Egypt. Surrender to the king of Babylon. He's my servant. And they said, no, we want to go back to Egypt. Verse 9, Jeremiah 42. Jeremiah told them, thus says the Lord, the God of Israel, to whom you sent me to present your petition. If you will indeed stay in this land, then I will build you up and not tear you down. I will plant you and not uproot you, for I will relent of the disaster I have brought upon you. This is like love. Verse 11, do not be afraid of the king of Babylon, whom you now fear. Do not be afraid of him, declares the Lord, for I am with you to save you and deliver you from him. And I will show you compassion, and he will have compassion on you. God's going to make sure of it. He said, Nebuchadnezzar is my servant, and he will have compassion on you and restore your land to you. Well, his granddaddy had to do it because these guys they had a one-track mind, and I'm not going to say the two words court Jew. Dog. That was a tease. I was going to say it the whole time. Ha 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 ha. Man, I got you, man. I'm listening to some comedy with Tommy and learning how to do it. Verse 13, but if you say, we will not stay in this land, and you thus disobey the voice of the Lord your God, and if you say, no, but we will go to the land of Egypt. Oh, it's hard to be, I don't want to be too funny because, yikes. And live there where we will not see war. See, they want to avoid war. So they're just going out of the frying pan right into the fire. They wanted to go back to Egypt. Oh, man. Verse 15, then hear the word of the Lord, O remnant of Judah. This is what the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, says. If you are determined to go to Egypt and reside there, then the sword you fear will overtake you there. And that was supposed to be fear. Hey, Tommy, how's it going, man? What'd you up to, man?
How's it going?
Yep, Tommy and I put it in, Tommy put in a garage door, and I held it a couple times when, he wished he had three hands.
A doggy door.
Doggy door, that's right.
A doggy door. A garage door.
No, we didn't do the garage door.
Garage door for a dog.
Yeah, and anyway, it's going to help me a lot. It's super cool anyway. So now we've done 2 doggy doors. Tommy he's feeling good. He drove a lot yesterday. I got to take off my jacket. It's getting warm in here. We just getting some crazy weather here in Texas. Oh. We'll go down to verse 19. Thank you. Sorry about that. The Lord has told you, O remnant of Judah, do not go to Egypt. Know for sure that I have warned you today, for you have deceived yourself by sending me to the Lord, your God, yikes, saying to the Lord our God on our behalf, and as for all that the Lord our God says, tell it to us and we will do it. Verse 21, for I have told you today, but you have not obeyed the voice of the Lord. What's new? Your God in all he has sent me to tell you. Now, therefore, know for sure that by sword, famine, plague, you will die in the place where you go to desire, where you wish to reside. And so he finished telling them all of these things. And then these guys they're just so bad. They didn't even care. So basically they call Jeremiah a liar. And they go like, you're lying when you said you must not go to Egypt to reside. So sure enough, man, they grab him up and his scribe and take him. They go. So verse 7, so they entered into the land of Egypt because they did not obey the voice of the Lord. The son of a guns. Verse 10, they were warned. Tell them that this is what the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, says. I will send for my servant Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. The Lord is moving, right? So much in the last week, 2 weeks. And if we can, if I could just keep practicing and pull it together, Lord willing, you know, we can really drop this out there if they, you know, because, you know, I think David Weiss, I think he's, you know, a Christian person that will listen to this type of stuff. And I think that, you know, Jeranism, you know, they just need to know that the Bible's there and is an option, because it's not Oprah Winfrey world where, you know, you can just love everybody and we're all our own little personal Jesus. And no, everything about the Bible's true, you know. And the good news is the fact that Gentiles can be saved. So I think that's wonderful. And I love to see that there's a lot of quotes in the chat room of that look like I could rabbit trail them to no end. It's just absolutely crazy. But let's see, an hour and 10 minutes. I really feel like the Holy Spirit's there. I know it took me a while to get to the Kabbalah, but we got a couple of videos on them that we're going to watch. And I'm going to pick one of those videos because I'm going to be spending a little time praying, getting a drink, and we'll check back with you in just a few minutes. Where's that one list of them I had? Remember that? Kenny, you're a maniac. He's a maniac, right?
The Kabbalah and the I Ching are two of the most universal symbolic systems on the planet today. The I Ching, symbolic system of the Far East, is both a philosophical system and a method of divination that has influenced China's two principal religions, Taoism and Confucianism. The I Ching is based on the system of the Great.
Okay, so I'm not going to, you know, get my my drink and smoke a cigarette. It's going to be marijuana. I'm going to smoke marijuana. You know, but this is a tech, you know, is it possible that the Hebrews, Synagogue of Satan, tapped into the I Ching mystics of, it was all of Asia that departed Paul? If we are remembering 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 15 correctly, and you probably heard me say it so many times, you go like, yeah, that's it.
Tao of Great Tai Chi, Yin female and Yang male. According to Chinese belief, every event and thing in the universe arises from the interaction of these two principles. Like the Kabbalah, the I Ching is a cosmological system that contains an underlying mathematical structure. As a symbolic system, the I Ching reveals the underlying harmonic pattern, an eightfold pattern that creates 64 8 times 8 hexagrams, each of which is made up of 6 lines that can be in any combination of either broken yin or unbroken yang. In the Tai Chi Chuan symbol of the yin and yang.
Wow, I didn't know this would be so hard. Let's skip that part. We don't want to read it. This looks like a different form of binary code to me, because there's either one or two lines. If there's never, you know, this is still would be considered one line.
Hence, the 64 codons of the DNA are exactly the same when written in the same yin-yang code language. The system of the I Ching demonstrates that our actual biological and psychological nature is written in a mathematical language, that of our DNA. This underlying template can be likened to the template of the God particle with its 280.
Oh, wow. I got to go back and look at some more of that life scope miscropy, because I was going to kind of out all that about the myocarditis, you know, we got a rash of heart disease going on now. Blood clots are no fun.
88 square mass value and its 13 times 216 energy value. where a priori mathematical codes provide the templates of the primary structure of phenomenal reality. The I Ching also utilizes the 5 Chinese elements: wind, wood, water, fire, and earth. These combine to create an intrinsic symbolism that still pervades modern Chinese society and is also prevalent in the West. Up until the 1960s, only a few translations of the I Ching had been available. Perhaps the most complete translation is that of Richard Wilhelm, which became quite popular in the 1960s. Wilhelm provided 2 general renditions of the I Ching. The first gives extended psychological interpretation of meaning, and the second gives structure.
This guy, man, he's got that thing spinning, and I don't want you to go to sleep.
Even more so that the hours of the clock or the divisions of the calendar could be, in as so much as the hexagram was understood to be an indicator of the essential situation prevailing in the moment of its origin. Any symbolic system that is based on pristine mathematical or geometrical structures is universal. These systems form a grid that existed before creation, and in fact, actually demonstrate the process of creation. To recapitulate, there is first number, then geometry, then symbolic structure of the world of image, and finally the world of appearance.
There you go. That's all you need to know, but for review
Of cosmic history lies the great re-evaluation and reordering of all human systems of thought as manifestations of universal time and synchronic order. In the new time, successive stages of life each have an appropriate body of knowledge. These bodies of knowledge, according to the world age, are maintained in a hermetic vessel through different sets of symbolic structures. Whether these are traditional systems or not, by its purpose and method, cosmic history places them in a larger context of the synchronic order. In this way, meaning is renewed and symbolic value is expanded into a whole system of cosmic order that reaches into the infinite harmony of universal unification.
wow. Thanks, but no. So anyway, they don't have much figured out, I don't think. Wow, Echo Kane. Look, let's try it at 3333. That's got to be important to them, right? We'll give them a couple of seconds to warm up. Go, you demonic.
Of the celestial river of life is described as resembling the letter Yad. When you know already what we explained, then you say, yeah, obviously it is resembling the letter Yad. Because the book of Genesis says, and a river came out of Eden and divided into 4. The river that came out of Eden is 1, and divided into 4 is 5. It's the letter Yad. No problem to understand that. But here you find, I quoted that from the 3rd book of Enoch, that unfortunately is not in the Bible, but it is written there. Metatron shows Rabbi Ishmael, the right hand of the Most High, now inactive behind him.
This guy's voice is kind of hard for me. Probably you too, but look at it. Doesn't it look like God's right hand is using a compass of conspicular rays? I don't know why, or is that going over a disc? I don't think so. The occult meaning of the word flowers refers to the 6 higher and lower spheres, 12 archetypes of Israel, appears on the earth, refers to the archetypes, namely Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Boaz, and Joseph. Where does the Bible call them archetypes? It doesn't. Big deal on flowers and herbs, huh? They got it all figured out. There's Hadikiel. You're a frat. I never heard of them. That must be Garden of Eden. These are rivers.
Out the living soul and the birds that fly.
Look at, oh, these, I see what they're doing. They've assigned the patriarchs with, like, Leo is Judah, Gemini is the Levi, Capricorn, Simeon, Libra is Dan, and Dan gets left out. They don't even get a pillar. Virgo, Asher, right on down. Cancer is Zebulon. These guys in their Kabbalah, before I forget, one of the videos that I was watching was talking about that Baal, the guy who founded the Hasidic movement, and one of his most famous, I guess, infamous should be, books is about how every letter of the new Hebrew language, at least the one after the reset that these guys all teach is the perfect word of the Torah. They think it's all magical, and with it you can figure out everybody's real name. And they made it clear that that's the roots of Kabbalah. And that also is the root of, ever since this flat earth movement started, there's always been a persistent echo chamber of, you're not really worshiping God if you don't call him this, that, or the other thing. And we actually know that there's groups out there that says, you know, you've got to call him Yahushua, Yahushi, Yahudah, because they think that in the Kabbalah, once they have power over the name, they have it figured out. That's the only reason that the Bible clearly says, you know, no man knows his name, but they're still going, I know it. No, they don't. It's Kabbalah that tricks them into thinking, oh, well, they've already believed so many lies, they just keep rolling with, I know the true name of God. Sorry for everybody else that doesn't. It's not like that. Nothing the Jewish founded Kabbalah, except the departing of it by God's grace and changing to Christianity and striving to live your life like Romans chapter 12, verse 1, like a living sacrifice, wholly acceptable to him, because that's your reasonable service and spiritual service. That's your spiritual duty. That's what Christians are called to now, higher, not like them. Now that we know, you know, I can't be lusting over some neighbor or something like that all the time, where God's going to say, you might as well be raping her. You're just playing a fantasy in your mind. You hate somebody, and if I had this, I'd do that. And maybe you would if you had the power. That's murder if you hate. Summed up by James, he says, by those who know to do good and do it not, it is counted as sin, because it's the royal law now. Golden rule seems close, but we're called to a life where to know to do good and do it not, it's a sin. If your sanctification and atonement are matching up with scriptures. Now, don't get crazy on me, or God or the Bible, and be like, should I let my husband watch that program, or for the mid, be like, have I watched enough basketball this weekend? All the time having held hands praying together for 0.0 minutes, something like that. Rolling, rolling, rolling.
Kabbalah. Oh, how widespread it has become, and how oddly distributed, shifted, and split. To give the most minor of introductions, today I'm remaking one of my original videos, but this time with flair, and further supplemented by what I've learned over the year. Well, not all of it, but the minor points that I think are relevant to beginners in either striking the chord of their desire for spiritual wisdom, or engaging the mind that seeks understanding, pun intended. And really quickly, if you want to learn about metaphysics, practical aspects of the Kabbalah, the secret of numbers, magic spells, and more, then don't forget to subscribe because I'm working on those at this very moment. Alright, let's start at the bottom. Kabbalah, as some people know, is a word meaning the tradition, in reference to the oral tradition and its subsequent depths of knowledge as it relates to the Torah, which is called the written tradition, or first 5 books of the Bible. The oral tradition is considered delivered over the 40 days and nights unto Moses upon Mount Sinai by the divine, directly from mouth to ear. Hence it is called the tradition. Today, we have what may as well be called commoner Kabbalah, a series of artistic renditions of items that are said to house the most ancient secrets, which to some extent they assuredly do in the space of theology and occultism, but with a nuance of mystery since these topics are finally becoming available to the general public. We'll begin our introduction proper with the Tree of Life, the other tree in the midst of the Garden of Eden, likened against the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. This attainment of the Tree of Life, properly called Etz Chaim, is considered to be the pinnacle of humanity's spiritual existence. How do we know that? And what is this spiritual state similar to? Well, it's described in Genesis 3:22, where we find the quote, "Lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever," emphasizing and live forever. Let's ask ourselves something briefly. Why is it a tree? Well, the tree is the most proper symbol for a few reasons. Because a great tree sprouting from a seed is much like the mystical imagery described in the Kabbalah as it relates to the creation of the universe.
Okay. Hey, let's look at real quick. We're having fun bouncing around the scriptures. Let's go back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 22, because remember, they love that 322. You know they do. They just can't get enough of it. And what have we proven? That they'll even drink adrenochrome and they don't care how they get it because of Genesis 3:22. Then the Lord God said, "Behold, the man has become like one of us in knowing good and evil. Now lest he reach out his hand and take also of the tree of life and live forever." Now, may or may not be true, but what I contend and have been contending is that the reason for CERN and all of these other particle colliders is the fact that they know, although they zeitgeist everybody into, by saying Jesus never existed, they know he existed. And they know that he was pierced by that same platoon of people who some would live and see him returning in his power and glory. if you want to trust Jesus and believe the scriptures. Blood and water hit the ground. These things never go away, particles. They believe that they can find and synthesize that. And that's what they believe they're holding out. And they are in their deceived mind, because God sits in the heavens, and the angels, they aren't all knowing. Remember, it says when Jesus was being crucified, the angels were desirously looking in to see what manner of things what's going on here. Now we know. It could be. But we do know that they're really into living long lives. They don't want to die. But nobody does that I can remember.
Sure, it is a plant, but in the same vein, it so properly fits the process of creation. The garden flourishes with all manner of foliage, just as the fields and air flourish with all manner of animals. And the crown of creation was mankind. Each level of living things begins with the generative force of two parents, we might even say masculine and feminine energies, who in the Kabbalah are called Abba and Ima. Abba and Ima mean father and mother respectively, and their mysteries are called the Forbidden Degrees, for which we find in Leviticus 18:7, the nakedness of thy father, nakedness of thy mother, shalt thou not uncover. Therefore, we won't be going any further on Abba and Ima aside from displaying their correlation to the tree of life, which I will do so very soon after presenting the layout of the tree. Anyway, the depiction of the tree is, at least how it is shown in the side of Lurianic Kabbalah, like so. Well, if you don't know what I mean by Lurianic, it's a man who was named Isaac Luria, who lived in the 1500s, and he's a famous Kabbalist, a real genius of the sort and mystic grandfather of many Kabbalistic concepts today, like Tzimtzum, which we won't be talking about that herein. Even so, Luria is now also known by the ascribed moniker the Arizal, or the Holy Ari, because of his devout and spiritual powerful nature. He studied many things extensively, yet most of all seems to be the Zohar. If you don't know, the Zohar is a text from the 1200s compiled and put into writing by a man known as Moshe de Leon, but its authorship is attributed to the most famous rabbi, Shimon Bar Yochai. But these history lessons are too easily covered on your own time, so let's get back to the basics of the tree. There are 10 Sphirot in the tree, with a special Sphira called Da'at, that typically isn't present because of reasons. I don't put it because of a few reasons, but one thing you could really ask yourself is, why do so many other trees not include Da'at? Like, the question would be, what's missing? which is actually a play on words. What's missing? It actually answers the question, coincidentally. Okay, but back to it. There are the 10 Sphirot, and I'm going to say this slowly and highlight the spheres as I say them. They are Malkuth, Yesod, Hod, Netzach, Tiferet, Geburah, Chesed, Bina, Chokhmah, and at the peak, Kether. In English, we would see these as, following the same as last time, kingdom, foundation, glory, victory, beauty, judgment, loving kindness, understanding, wisdom, and knowing. As you may have noticed, some of these Sphirot, or as commonly called Sephiroth in English, are related to each other. The most common correlations are called the pillars. There are 3 pillars, of which we can categorize them: the pillar of severity, which is the left-hand pillar, the pillar of sweetness or mercy, which is the right-hand pillar, and finally the pillar of balance, which is the middle pillar. Sometimes you'll see the middle pillar also properly called the pillar of mercy. And this isn't wrong, because the merciful nature can be distributed upon the left hand, and this is known as sweetening judgment, or appealing to the aspect of mercy. But all of that gets pretty complicated, and we shouldn't be too tedious on basic introductions. We now need to speak on another matter very briefly. One of the most famous books of the Kabbalah is known as Sefer Yetzirah, meaning the Book of Formation, committed to writing or ascribed around the 2nd century AD.
Wow. I'm going to just take a few minutes and just let you know, my mind is racing. This is all good stuff, but, or we don't want to go too crazy. I feel like the Kabbalah, their sacred geometry, I get it. It's cool. I've never bothered to learn the 7 chakras, what they are. Or, now I know that the names of the trees and have something like that. What I'm trying to say is it's the synagogue of Satan. That's what the synagogue of Satan was going to teach you. Once they get you away from Christ and the Bible, is going to be you could get circumcised, you can only eat this, you can only do that, and you're not going to be saved. The only thing that is zeitgeist proof is the Bible. They're out to murder you. So I do want to go back and look at some of these things. Look at this. These red blood cells, normally they're normally detached from each other. This is the presence of a pathology. These red blood cells and this ReLU are found in chronic inflammatory states. Is something, and these are alive and moving. They should be flowing. It's induced autoimmune. They stack up, it says, like a pile of coins held together. I'm convinced by some sort of magnetic frequency attraction that they're now drawn to each other. And what else are we mad about? We're all mad about the same things. I will let somebody who is better, although he is a maniac, although he is, I only use him as a math resource. He's mad about something I'm mad about. So I'll let him speak for me on that subject.
Debate is, and it's not. Platonic dialectic debate is important, it's powerful, and it cuts through an enormous amount of BS. The title of this little video, Lying Liars Who Lie. Yeah, and I like to make it brief because in this day and age, everybody's trying to do 1,000 things. And I work 7 days a week, except for the fact that I've been like sick as a dog from the coof for the past 2 weeks, and then also too recovering from the coof, which is extremely long and drawn out. Here's an example recently that I found out. There's I took a special stuff that helped me recover overnight from the coof, and I can't talk about it on social media. They don't want you to talk about it. I've had hundreds and hundreds of people email me about what it is, and I told them and the doctor I got it from. A lot of people, I even saved a few lives. Yeah, people told me that I saved their lives. Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Here's something that just happened. You can look this person up and see what it was they were recommending. Same stuff that saved my life, by the way. Dr. Meryl Nass, M-E-R-Y-L, then Nass, N-A-S-S. This person has had their doctor's license revoked. I don't know for how long. Man, I can smell this apple really good. It smells wonderful. Now, not only has their license been revoked, they've been ordered to get a psychological evaluation. It's so stupid. Oh my God. Unbelievable. Here's something else that happened last week. Some military leaked documents came out that showed that the same substance works throughout all phases of the coof. Yeah, Yeah, now this video is not about, this magic stuff in relationship to the Kuf. Yeah, it's not. It's just one example I'd like to give. People are trying to hide the truth, and of course, we have a medical tyranny going on in the world right now. If you don't know it, then you've had your head up someplace really, really dark, because everybody else that has 2 eyes and a half a brain, even a quarter of a brain, knows that there's insane medical tyranny going on right now. Yeah, and if it don't make money, well, you shouldn't talk about that. This medical tyranny, you know it, and I know. I don't need to point out that fact. Here's a really, really important fact, okay? And I think it's an ancient Chinese proverb that says, only 3 things you're going to hide for so long: the sun, the moon, and the truth. The truth is leaking out all over the place about all sorts of things. People that defy and go against natural order, trying to hide the truth from people. All these social media places, like Twitter is the worst. You know all the worst ones. You know it, and I know it. They're trying to keep people from saying the truth, except people are using cryptic wording, so everybody knows what's being said. Yeah, so you can't censor stuff if people are using, it's like 100 different cryptic words for like one thing, especially right now, and everybody knows what's being said. See, the sun, the moon, and the truth, it can't be hidden for very long. Here's something I've been debating for decades. I'd like to talk about this because I'm the #1 expert in the whole world on this topic. The term is anatta. Yeah, it's a Pali word. The Sanskrit word is anatman. This word does not imply the denial of a soul or there is no soul. It actually does just the opposite. I know every technically there's 662 occurrences of this word, and every
Can you believe that? So just because you think that people that don't know the Lord, they must be dumb or something. No. You thank God that you've had your eyes open and your ears unplugged, and you've been called brother or sister because you're adopted. It's all real, people. It's happening in real time. Do not get angry. What he wants to do is to be so right about this that the people, and I'm just seeing this in the spirit right now, that the people will rise up with guns and protect him and others who, why won't we listen to their warnings, is what he thinks. But what if it's not a restoration? It's a rescue from those faithful to Christ. That, in my humble opinion, is what we're looking at here. Not a rescue of people who have been trying to warn us.
Bound. And it is a simple via negativa, neti methodology in reference to the soul through objective denial. That's not the soul. This is not the soul. That's not the soul. You have to posit something before you can negate it. There's no negation of the soul anywhere within doctrine yet. Myself and another buddy, I think he's died actually. He was really old even decades ago. We were debating this stuff on every forum on the internet for decades. And we always won because we had the facts, logic, wisdom, and specifically doctrinal citations with book and verse to back us up. Oh, we got banned so many times. I'd invent new names and new stuff and speak in a different way. And people go, oh, it's that same guy again. We got to ban him. They did that to me, my buddy, and a few other people. They don't want to hear the truth. These are called dogs in the manger. They bark. They don't want you in there. Bark, 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 bark. These are people that are afraid of natural order and afraid of the truth. Yeah. Genuine Buddhism. Of course, Buddhism is a fake word made up in the 16th century. But I'll just say that Akeya is the doctrine of the teachings of the historical Sakyamuni. Yeah, Sakyamuni, by the way, just means Scythian sage. That's not a name. Most of the Buddhists out there think Sakyamuni is a name. That's not a name. It's an appellation. It means Scythian sage. They don't even know the founder of the person that they follow. Scythian sage is what it means. Yeah, it's not a name at all. They refuse to seek the truth. They hate natural order. They hate facts, logic, and wisdom. All these people have one thing in common. They spit from the shadows. They cannot expose themselves to the light. Yeah, like a vampire. They cannot stand the light and truth of facts, logic, and wisdom. They can't do it. These are cowards. They swing and spit from the darkness. The reason why is because they live in darkness. They cherish and worship ignorance and evil. They all have this in common. This doctor who's prescribing stuff, the same stuff that saved me. Not only they have their license pulled for X period of time, but they order them to get a psych eval. Can you believe that? I mean, actually, it's not a guy, it's a woman, Dr. Meryl Nass. These lying liars who lie, they cannot stand the light of truth, facts, logic, and wisdom. They can't. They're cowards. These people are spineless. Recognize that in your life. Here's something that, and the Aussies are really, really spineless. I love the Australians. They have a serious problem, okay? Now, Americans have problems too. We're fat and lazy, right? Okay, I can chew all over Americans, all right? But right now I'm chewing on the Australians. Australians are extremely spineless under observation. The Australians are watching the police and other people do horrible things to their people. I mean, you're just being abusive and tyrannical, and it's just a face palm. I just look at what these Australians are doing. I just go like, Jesus, dear God, can't you grow a pair? I'm just looking at Australia. Please, God, Australians, grow a pair. Can't you grow a pair? But apparently they can't. We'll see if they can grow a pair, but so far they can't grow a pair. But one thing I've seen in hundreds and hundreds of videos sent to me by Australians where the cops are doing something horrible to somebody or a group of people, and what the Australians will do is they'll say to these cops, you know, this is senseless because boom, boom, boom. They'll lay out facts, logic, and wisdom. And what these Australian cops and the politicians too, they always say the same thing. And these are the same people as the evil ignorance that spit and throw punches from the dark. They say, I'm not going to with these cops and politicians. I'm not going to debate you. I'm not here to debate you. I'm not going to debate you. It's because you can't. You can't. These people live in the shadows. I've seen literally hundreds of videos from Australia, and they all have the same thing where some Australian says facts, logic, and wisdom. It's like, this is not even the law. Yeah, they can be stating absolutely. It's like the law, Australian law. Like, you can't do this. This is against the law. So they have these supposed law enforcers. Yeah. And the Australians go, you're breaking the law. You're supposed to be the guy that upholds it. You're breaking the law. And every time these cops and politicians say, I'm not going to debate it with you. Stand back. It's because they can't. They can't. They do not stand in truth. They don't stand in truth, facts, logic, or wisdom. They don't. If you can't debate it with ease, if you can't defend it with ease, then you're in the wrong. People that live in the light of the truth live in the light of natural order. They can say, boom, 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 boom. Here we go. Could be man's law, right? Well, I'm obeying the law, and blah, 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 blah. They never do that because they can't. They're engaging in tyranny. I've seen hundreds of videos out of Australia, and half of them say the same thing. You know, they'll tell the cop or the fool politician, you know, this is not right. It's not science. It's not law, or you're actually breaking the law itself. You're supposed to be upholding the law, and you're breaking the law. And they all say the same thing, the politicians and the cops. Oh, I'm not going to debate this with you. I'm not going to do it. It's because you can't. Those people should not be listened to. It's like, well, you can't debate it. You don't stand in facts, logic, wisdom, or the law. I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to obey you because you have nothing to support yourself. No science, no facts, no logic, no wisdom. You got nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing. Not going to obey you. There's nothing that supports you. Nothing. I wished I would see that as a response from these Australians. No, Americans are half spineless like that too. When American cops and politicians do something, Americans are, I'd say about half. It could be a little more, it could be a little less. So I'm not really super, bringing up the Australians in that fact, but I've seen so many videos like that. People need to grow a pair. The sun, the moon, and the truth.
That's like the thing, man. You can keep saying, man, I wish some people would stand up, but everybody else is waiting like they're going like, don't shoot first. It's like we all watched those old cowboy movies. Everybody's waiting for somebody else to see the whites of their eyes, but they're all bloodshot with meth.
This is the same reason why you will never see a good book. I'm the god of books. When it comes to hardcore books on genuine metaphysics, it is me and like nobody else. My stuff is the best.
You wrote 2 good books. That's all.
Recommendations. I've scanned in thousands and thousands of books. You cannot go to any bookstore unless it's a used bookstore, located very close to a university where like at least a few intelligent critters hang out once in a while. You will never see a halfway intelligent book in the bookstore or Amazon.com. It just doesn't exist. People are like, I've never heard of these books. It's like, that's right. You go to a bookstore, you'll see trash and garbage. Trash screams. The good stuff gets discontinued immediately goes out of print. It's too much. How many of you heard of the Predestination or the Didaskalikos?
Not me.
I mentioned it. It should be in every bookstore.
I must have missed that show. I still haven't heard of it. I still haven't heard of it because I don't know what he said. What were those real words? Or is he playing with us?
How to have a sharp mind. How to really think like a
Apple?
Genius. How many of you heard of the Pitaphysian until I mentioned it? No, none of you. Maybe one. Maybe one. I had so many hundreds of people. Oh my God, I downloaded the Pitaphysian or I bought it. And oh my goodness, I think so much better now. My child's reading it. Man, he's so much smarter. Or she is. It's the reason why you can't get good books in the bookstore. There's not a single one. All of these people that are opposed.
You know what? My big brother Randy shaves his head like that too, and he challenges you to an arm wrestling match, Kenny. And he's 20 years older than you. He's going to kick your ass.
To natural order, facts, logic, and wisdom. They swing and spit from the darkness. That is where they live. The truth does not hide in darkness. It does not shrivel in the shadows underneath the stairs. These people shall be known by what they are afraid of talking about. All these people have been banned off all these social media accounts. Twitter is like, well, this person's a prestigious doctor. PhD, he invented this stuff. I think you know who I'm talking about, don't you? Don't you?
It rhymes with ouchie.
This stuff. He's a prestigious, he's the dude. And they banned him. What did he do? He told the truth. Yeah, can't tell the truth. Yeah, the guy got in trouble for telling the truth. More of these social media places try to tighten their grip, the more website will be generated. Like Odyssey, BitChute, blah, 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 Rumble, blah, 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 all over the place. The harder they squeeze, the more the truth will slip through their fingers and it will rebound.
All right, let's think of different names for future websites for right-wingers to run to where the truth can finally be free. I'm thinking about Grumble, play on Rumble. What's some of the other ones? BitChute, you could call it Spit Shoot. Or how about this one? It was a dude, man.
Best in some place where facts, logic, and wisdom are not considered heresy.
Dang.
Did I scream a little too much now?
Kinda.
I love it when people think I'm angry and I'm not really angry. You have never seen me angry. Nobody's ever seen me angry in a video. This isn't angry.
You know what that is? That's scared and helpless. And he gets it before a lot of other people.
Sun, the moon, and the truth. If you can't debate it with ease, then you don't understand it, or you don't stand in facts, logic, and wisdom. Remember that. Next time you confront somebody, what are you doing? This is illogical. It's not the law. It makes no sense. It's not science. I'm going to debate it with you. If you can't debate it, then you don't understand it, or you are living in the shadow and the lies. If you can't debate it, I'm not going to listen to you. I'm not going to follow you. I'm not going to obey you. Not even a bit. Because I believe in facts, logic, and wisdom, and standing in the light of the truth.
Man, oh man, he really is not let it go in this one. He's mad the whole time. Go stand up, start shooting it up, teach those bad men a lesson, and come back and buy more books on magnetism. And at least he's smart. He believes in the ether, and he can go places in calculus that not many other people can go, and that's helpful because he tries to explain it really well. But besides that, all his other spiritual mumbo jumbo is exactly that. It's mumbo jumbo from Mama Gumbo. You left out the crawdads again.
These people are all cowards. They're spineless. They live in the shadows. They are spineless. You shine a light on them, they're like a pack of cockroaches. They all start to scatter. They can't stand it. They literally embrace darkness, and they hate natural order. They are in love with themselves and their own reflection in the mirror. Was this video a little salty? I wasn't really salty because you've never seen me upset. You think you have, but you haven't.
I'd like to know if his voice gets any cracky and any higher when he gets really mad, because if it's true that that does happen, then I don't want to see him really angry, because it sounds like it might be one of those children, that every now and then it thinks it's funny to go screech, screech. Did you guys see this one video I did the other day? How long is it? Man, I think, Sean, it might be a reset. I want to just take care a little of regular business here. And if QB is still in the house, leave a comment on this video that I'm sharing, because I wanted to make you and Matt moderators tonight. If you would, if you don't mind. I mean, for crying out loud, I'm just here assuming it's like, Mary, you don't want to volunteer your time or something. What am I even? Oh, it was, where's that video I was going to show you that's so cool? Not that one. I'm saving if we've got time to get to that. What in the wide world of sports? Didn't I just open a video? Welcome everybody to Flat Earth Nation, formerly Flat Earth Nation, now Mudflood was thumbnail. Look at that spooky scene, man. They're in an elevator and people are spying on them. Spooky, spooky. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. UAP. Wrong one, ding dong. This is not the one where he's got the gun. Hey, this is fun, huh? The gun. Look at me, Moonraker, where Dolly's braces are, because, you know,
she's an angelic. I don't know. But check it out. The Scarecrow has a gun, a revolver. It's funny because there's no, or not much memory of this. If you read the comments, at least I didn't remember him having that. I've seen this movie before, 2 times. It doesn't really seem to fit. I don't remember him acquiring it. It wasn't one of the items that were given to them. And I don't think it.
The only thing I remember is the axe and the net. I don't remember the big monkey wrench. I don't remember the hammer. And I don't remember the gun. Tommy does, at least in one of the VHS versions.
It was in the toys or anything like that. And it's funny how he holds it. It's inconsequential. It's a firearm. It's a handgun. And it's like it's not even there. It's almost as if it's just edited in. And the way he...
I want to welcome Matt G. Not interrupting for commentary on the video, just interrupting to say, hey, Matt G. You haven't missed a thing. It's just that UAP's knocking it out of the park. He just started.
Holds it. It's funny-ish. And it doesn't seem to contact or touch any other things. It looks so funny and clever. And he kind of drops it or throws it. It's like he's not even holding it. You could easily redo that scene. You can easily redo that scene without the gun. He's not packing heat, was he? Just seems strange to me. Of course, we have a kind of a warped view about guns and firearms. It used to be that you could take a gun to school. If you were in a sharpshooters club, marksmanship after school, extracurricular activity. Up until the early 80s, at least in the United States, you could do that. And I fired a gun in class.
So anyway, this was the famous UAP knocking it out of the park. Had a gun there.
Was he packing heat? Does it look funny to you? Maybe it was in there. Maybe it's just like it's the way it kind of dangles and was it always there? I guess he holds his other hand up too.
Man, he ain't holding no gun. So then he goes on, he talks a little bit about that same other subject. Make sure we're sharing. We're sharing. Hola, Rob Biles. ¿Qué pasa? This is really good stuff right here.
The magnetic field has become significantly, and the magnetic North Pole is tilted 2,000 kilometers.
All right. Well, that's getting way ahead of where I'm ready to go. I want to.
Strange, I think. This isn't Asia, but
Oh, you know those guys that have that new projection of the Earth being like the asteroids game, and it swings around like Pac-Man? This great eclipse of 2017, before those knuckleheads got interviewed on Jaredism, the last I saw them, they were predicting that this was the rapture. And Jason was crying in his backyard that his mom and dad wouldn't listen to him. And he was so sad that they missed the rapture. True story.
put on your solar safety glasses, determine how much of the sun you saw blocked by the moon. Now, Hopkinsville was Kentucky's point of greatest eclipse, and people came from around the world to experience this amazing celestial event.
You get a better view of the corona there. That's what they call that eclipse thing. Look at the views. Here it says that the Kentucky Educational Television has 24,000 subscribers. UAP just made this video. And it had 126,000 views. I'd give them a thumbs up if I could. We're going to move ahead. They got into some eclipse things. I got into some absolutely hilarious comedy. Let's review it. We won't watch the whole video. But the funny parts are funny. Try to imagine it's all funny. Now, is he, who are the bad guys in all of this? Remember, I had this queued up, Oz balloon scene. Ba, ba, ba. And as we go down, I'll create a hot air balloon scene. No, we don't want to do that. It floats away. That sounds interesting. Hot air balloon scene. Uh-oh. Hey, you know, I did this video a long time ago, too, because I noticed this when I was a little kid, and I always told my sisters, watch, to the point of where they'd be like, shut up. I get it. You believe they talk to me like that? So here they are. Time to go, right? You all recognize this. This dog. Toto. In case you can't see the dog, we'll go full screen. There's the dog. Now, does she let the dog out? No. Speech. Casual look. Oh, she looks suspicious. The dog looks suspicious. He looks suspicious. That top hat got clubbed by slaves working for the Russian-American company. We know that now. This is hemp rope. We know everything about everything depicted in this from our studies. Keep your eye on the dog. Where'd the dog go? Who let the dogs out? Man holding rope, securing aforementioned balloon. Speech. Hello, I've got a heart. Or something. I got a brain. A doctorate of thinkology. Wait on it, there it is. And this guy here, he's got a clock on his heart. They're not buying it. They know it's fake. Look whose hand is on the rope. Where's the dog? Former clubbed seal. Angle of St. George's. Oh, I'm just reaching with that spear. Come on. Click. Dog. Basket. Glinda in the, I'm a lion, I had a gun. Whoa! you? Dog barking. Hey! Oh, so she is not complicit. As usual, and without any coarse jesting, it was that pussy's fault. Gone. Who's in charge of the other rope? The man with the brain. He's got the rope. It seems to be freed up, and now he's feigning, straining, pulling on the rope. Go. Out goes Dorothy, quickly. The heroic lion, red ribbon in his hair, and he's ready to go to San Francisco if you're wearing a ribbon. Oh, my first love, Alana McKenzie. Formerly, she was married to Scott McKenzie, the man who sang that song. If you're going to San Francisco, wear flowers in your hair. So that's why I'm referencing Scarecrow with a half hitch, unhitch, with no belay pressure being applied. Go. Down goes Dorothy. Clears the steps. We see no rope on the belaying effect. Said hero has now abandoned the rope, leaving it with supposedly the man with the heart. Go. Man with the heart doing his job. Half hitch, reattached to the post. Not a Mandela effect. I've noticed that since the early 70s. Upside down feather. Tin Man. A half ounce of pressure will keep this in place. So it is secure. Although the back post has been abandoned by the man who I think planned it all, the man with the brains. He's left his post. Perhaps a guilty conscience with the lion. He only wanted to knock him from top to bottomless. It's all down to the Tin Man. Go. Oh! Did you see it? Right after I said go. Half hitch, guilty party. There. Do you need any more proof of the pre-Mandela effect? Look how that feather turned into the railing of the staircase. Remember when you thought it was a feather? That was fun. Half hitch not supported because it doesn't have a half ounce of pressure. That's not going to work. Mission accomplished. Go. Go. See the half hitch pull? Oh, fake. That pathetic weak jumper. Now, look at the symbolism of the eyeball. And they're just like they planted us green-eyed demons in the world. I just noticed over here there's a star with a sunburst pattern interspersed with pentagons. Count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 5. Yep. Nope, that's 6. What's going on here? Fun time ruiner. Go. He's got it. The man with the brains grabs him and says, let go of the rope. It looks like he grabbed him somewhere else, too. You had to fake jump to get it. Got it. No, what is this? How did this get on the screen? Who clicked this? I think I struggle here. Real quick before we give up. Astronomic observations at all. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, I explained that I was one of those pads operators. That's right. Now we know where to go back to. I'll explain that the Lord has put me in this position to be a teacher. It's your choice whether the Spirit, the Holy Spirit, has said, there's something here. I should see if I can help. Look at that. This paradigm's blown wide open. I was trying to make people remember that Bart Simpson episode. I thought that would be, clickbait. I was hoping I could get like 20 or 30 views. 82 Charlie, it's been retired. This is how I did it. Before they had it took up the back of a Jeep, and it had a pretty high antenna on it, and it drove around from spot to spot, and it received, and by triangulation, they didn't need us anymore. So they don't have surveyors anymore in the United States Army or any military branch, as far as I know. What we used to be called our MOS, which is your job description, was 82 Charlie. It's been retired. Yeah, you guys, you can check me out anytime. Do one of those Freedom of Information acts on me if you got all that money burning a hole in your pocket, big talkers. Expose me. Where's the volume, for crying out loud? Say something. What is this supposed to be? Like, they're supposed to memorize all those algorithms? Did I? Look, see, it's moving. I'm just not saying anything. Thanks for putting up with this. Oh, this is the part I was going to skip because I got lost, and I was going to go like, oh, I found it. Records field data, prepares schematic sketches, and marks survey stations, performs astronomic observations. No, we don't. We measure azimuths and angles and determine deviations for targets. I don't know where, nobody that I know ever performed astronomic observations. Unless they mean like, do you think it's going to rain tonight? At all. Oh, here we go. Yeah. Right. So this is an article about when they're probably going, we don't need these guys anymore. So here's the only, I'm just looking at pads. You see, because when I got in, everything was with a transit. We did it by hand with chains and sticks and the theodolite, trigonometry. And then I was actually in the first group of 2 platoons, and I told this story. I might tell it again, so I'll just save it. And it doesn't give me anything? Thank you, Lord, because these people were not going to help me. They were going to leave me hanging looking like an idiot. Oh, I had already told the story. So it's there and documented that me and Pete were on that one of the first 2 platoons, and we were Christians that, basically from the 82nd to the 17th Air Support to do this pads. And it looks like eventually they called them 82 Charlies also, but now they've retired the 82 Charlies as far as I know. I'm positive. Well, I'm not an idiot. We worked on this, me and Pete. not Pete and I. If you can't say it like,
well, you could say I worked on these, or Pete and I would have been preferable there, Mr. Worked Up in a
I went
Frenzy.
to the store, not me went to the store.
I don't even know.
So Pete and I could go to the store.
Pete and I went to the store to buy beer before.
The reason I remember Sergeant Gavin's name so clearly is for a while we didn't know, because he was such a hard person to read. It's just like we had no idea if he was any relation to, well, you fans of the military already know.
So anyway, I had already described that this is part of the parallel azimuth direction system. And what they called GPS was built on that. So I just feel blessed that the Lord has had me at the cutting edge of the spiritual movements all my life, but I've never been more happy to be where I am now. You know, I had gangrene in my finger last year, and that hurts more than that. Russell Crowe makes it look like it hurts in that one movie. He's close. It hurts about that much, but a little bit more. Let's see what Fat Kenny's yapping about now.
Stop a recent. Like, stop at AK. Bit healthier. I'm still really worn down. It's impossible to. Numbers 1 and 3 mean the Fibonacci sequence. First is the principle. One in mind, magnitude 1, 1, 2, 3. Magnitude matter. Number 3 would be Heil, which of course is the 4th number, i.e. matter. Solve palmetto O for prostate.
Wow, that's quite a segue.
Yeah, get up a few times because they're so horrible to make. And the smaller it is, the tinier the stitching. I thought about getting into making watch straps, but yeah.
You got to see this new show here. You know, I know that it's after 2 hours and 22 minutes and you want to check some new things out. Well, let's make fun of this new show that's out because a lot of it, it was scrapped from that Internet Archive, should be kind of free. I'll bet you my algorithm pulls it up because I watched part of it. And so they'll always try to force it back down your throat. Am I right? Do they ever think that, okay, I've watched this movie or that movie enough, and some of the other things, it's like, where do they recommend this thing? It's like about the Gemini or the Mercury program. There it is. That's the one I watched.
And spends most of.
You see, it's all about a joke. Project Mercy. You see how they try to tie it into the Nazis like it was a race, like everybody accepts quantum physics. Everybody believes this history, that it all led to the atomic bomb. Thank you people so much, you 17 that stayed here. We've tied up so much by the Lord's Spirit from that whole deal at the beginning, you know, with the court Jews and the Kabbalah. And we did a really nifty Bible study talking about how adopted we were. And now we're here, we we took a little pause and laughed a little bit about how they tried to fool us with the Mandela effect, and everybody saw right through it. And now we're right back at, they faked the bomb. They wanted us to live in fear, along with the globe. And it's like the people in the Q movement. They, you know, all of those conspiracies they taught them were true. It's the ones that they left out, like flat Earth and Armageddon being over and the Bible being true, and showing that, you know, it was the John Birchers and the mafia that planned the Kennedy assassination. Because we're coming out of a rewritten history of World War II where they faked a bomb, and the Nazis and the United States were working together from the beginning, because this has all been Virginia's plan for orphan trained children by Ray. They're our grandparents, everybody. My grandparent was born in 1889. I don't know that much about him. They had the blueprints, they had the manifest. They claim everything was destroyed, everything was hid. That's all the game. So I like the way this is going here, because if I remember this, you guys are going to be so happy, because they show some of those pictures of the lunar capsule interior where, like, John Glenn, he's the one they use an example, is like sitting up like he's steering it, and it's packed, and they show here's the parachutes here and there, but they never show where just a few years down the road they park a whole dune buggy in there and fly it up to the moon too. So, you know, we have all those questions, so we'll keep rolling on that. But what I wanted to do is to put in a, you know, if anybody wants to come on, and if they have any comments that they have to feel like, you know, I got to get this off my chest, man. And I'm not afraid to step in front of a microphone right now. Oh no, is my internet acting up? Check out some more of the video. There's the link. If you hit that, you'll be live on Mudflood Was Armageddon. You know, was trying to stick on any topic, but you know, we'll talk about you one if you come out like really hot and go, this is far more funny or interesting. So it was in, you know, here they admit it right here. You know, we can listen to a little bit, right? There goes my phone. I have no more monitor.
Scientists and military officials knew they stood a chance for a better life in the West. As the end of the war in Europe closed in, purposefully sought surrender with British or American units. Von Braun and his team collected blueprints, manifests, and documents from the program before they could be destroyed by the SS, and hid them to be used as bargaining chips for asylum with the Allies. By September of 1946, Operation Paperclip was in full swing. Over 1,200 German officials involved in wonder weapon projects were granted offers they couldn't refuse.
But we know it was over 3,000, and we know it was bankers, heads of insurance companies, professors at universities, librarians, teachers, yes, and a lot of rocket scientists. But they didn't make a bomb, and they didn't go to the moon. You're being sold pulp fiction and a dream that you meet the pin-up girl.
Asylum and work in the United States in exchange for a full pardon of their involvement in World War II. In October, the Soviet Union commences a similar operation. in which 2,200 German specialists are rounded up and deported eastward for work inside the Iron Curtain. Both the United States and the Soviet Union would go to great lengths to protect the identities of their respective German personnel. In some cases, even thwarting efforts to bring certain individuals to justice, including operations conducted by Mossad, the intelligence and special operations agency of a brand new country in the world, Israel. Deep inside the continental United States, tests are conducted on captured V2s. It is a weapon system unlike anything America has seen.
Reaching a speed of 3,000 miles.
Did you see the peroxide? That's liquid oxygen, nitrogen, and the peroxide's a separate ingredient. That was what they use, you know, for like Evel Knievel and these Mercury rockets. Excuse me.
Missions conducted by Mossad, the intelligence and special operations agency of a brand new country in the world, Israel.
Oh, isn't that convenient?
Inside the continental United States, tests are conducted on captured V2s. It is a weapon system unlike anything America has ever seen.
Reaching a speed of 3,000 miles an hour, the rocket climbs vertically for 60 miles before beginning its descent. It's been known to reach England 5 minutes after launching from the Netherlands over 200 miles away.
So that's some music right there. I'll try to do some more stop and drop so I don't get dropped for a copyright strike. Like I'm trying to make money off of this or steal their credit, even though they took this off the footage from the Internet Archive. So there it goes. You know, and, you know, Evel Knievel jumped a little rocket, you know, so I believe that you can kind of shoot those things out there. You know, not maybe... You know, nowadays they're using balloons because they've got it so fold. But oh, did you see this? You know how, you know, y'all, I remember living in Las Vegas when my dad was working on the nuke sites and stuff as a child in 64, 65. And the white sands rain, you know, it was very thing. How did we get all our testing on missiles? We captured them. That's why there was a race between Great Britain, the United States, and Russia to reach Berlin. They wanted those extrusion presses.
Von Braun and his team are sent to Huntsville, Alabama, and between 1946 and 1951, 67 captured V2s are fired from the White Sands missile range.
We had tons of Nazis for all those years firing missiles in Alabama as penance for their war crime. Clean my record, por favor. Why? What's the big deal?
Limbo, as the object's horizontal velocity causes it to constantly fall past the Earth. A state of permanent freefall, arcing over the horizon at 7,800 meters per second.
You heard that correct. That's how they said they do it. They stand by it. They launch it and turn it up at that angle so that they can surf that wave, baby. Surf it. Surf it good.
Orbit. Once the object achieves this velocity in space, there is practically no air resistance to slow it down.
Practically no air in that vacuum, or at least next to it. So that's answered a big mystery. All the atmosphere is turning with the Earth in their world, I get it. There's a vacuum right here, so we can see there's practically no in the surf zone. Ba, 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 ba. You guys ever wonder why I'd use that as like, you know, why do I think of that? You ever do that 5-0 theme song? Well, I guess you got to put in Hawaii. That's not what I want. Ba, 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 ba. Ba, 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 ba. Wow. Surf it. Surf it. Surfing USA.
This means achieving orbit at a sufficiently high altitude would allow large enough missiles to deliver vehicles and payloads into a relatively stable state. Once something enters orbit, it can continue to stay there for a significant amount of time without consuming any further propellant. This fact leads to a brand new concept in human knowledge.
Woo! And in their world, knowledge was increased because they realized how gullible we were. When all they had to do was give us fluoride. Man, you gotta, I mean, hey, look, it's a new moon. They put a new moon in the sky, is how it was presented.
First upon a startled world early in October, Russia announcing she had shot a man-made moon 560 miles into space, where it was circling the Earth at the dizzy speed of 18,000 miles per hour. It sent its familiar beep beep back to Earth. It was tracked.
Look, that looks real.
By radio and by sight as it hurtled across the heavens.
Fake, fake, fake. See, it's that easy.
The Soviet Union had beaten the United States in the International Geophysical Year's Earth Satellite Project. Literally overnight, the worldwide perception of power and technology shifts in Russia's favor.
Doggone, it didn't take long. They rode that wave of we saved the world until 1957. And then they said, enough of the letting the good times roll. We need fear. Speeds of over 18,000 miles per hour, surfing over the edge in infinity, falling. Ba, 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 ba.
First time in the Cold War. Many in the U.S. see it as an all-out crisis. Anyone can tune into Sputnik's beeping as it passes over the continental United States. And people to this day still claim to have seen it with their own eyes. Sputnik's relatively tiny 58-centimeter diameter makes this highly improbable. What most people actually observe is the depleted core stage of the R7 as it orbits alongside the small satellite. It is nearly 50 times bigger than the tiny metal ball.
Yeah, let's see. I'd make it 3 feet. That'd make it 3 feet bigger. So, I mean, 3 feet total, because that total metal ball is like, what was it, like 16 inches? So hey, I'm not good with their metric, plus it's late. It's late.
Instruments shed light on the existence of localized bands of radiation existing at high orbit altitudes, which soon become named the Van Allen belts. The International Geophysical...
They simply did not understand the imminent lethality of flying into it. Hence, you could ignore it. I'm sure they'll teach children before Gog and Magog in their public schools that little did we know when you galvanize aluminum, it rejects radiation. We made it. But for now, we're in this point where it's just like, no, we don't know how they lived. And we're all like, cool, man, what's the game? You're living the game.
Physical year, the public catalyst for which all of this was officially pursued quickly becomes overshadowed and forgotten in the face of what soon becomes known as the space race, as both countries bolster their efforts to continue missile development. And with the launch of a dog aboard Sputnik 2, it was clear to many in the Eisenhower administration that human spaceflight was Russia's next obvious goal. The director of the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, Hugh Dryden, makes the case for an American national research program to develop...
Hi, I'm the new guy I'm in charge of NASA. I think we need more Nazis.
Bit of talent and knowledge pulled from the various laboratories across the country. This collection of 45 are known as the Space Task Group. It is up to them to decide precisely how America will launch the world's first astronaut. The leader of the Space Task Group is Robert Gilbert, who before NASA was working on hypersonic missiles at the NACA.
Oh, and they finally supposedly got those perfected in China and Russia before the United States. So thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing. Hey, was it a tight fit in those capsules? You tell me.
For the torrent of celebrity in which they will find themselves now submerged. Unlike the Soviet Union.
Now that could be copyrighted, that song. Hey, we're going to make these guys rock stars. We all saw that movie, The Right Stuff, you know, the Mercury 7, like Madame Mercury, Marie Curie, or that witch down in New Orleans selling love potion number 9. Look at it, it was tight fit. He got his Masonic ring knocker on. Look at me, we're doing that thing again. And not very well. Look, I'm weightless. Ba 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 ba.
How many openings there are on the human body and how far you can go in any one of them.
A little bit of more music there. Hey, there goes oh, what was that? Hey, it didn't launch. Just the flight cable launched or something. That one didn't work. So the United States wasn't doing too good. Look at, they were going to put that on top. Here's the people down here. They're going to launch that. They thought that was a good idea. And they were like, hey, wait a minute. What if these guys get burned alive? So that was, you know, I understand they were just beginning, but that's so stupid in hindsight.
Capsule away from the rocket during the period of time in which it is still traversing Earth's atmosphere and more susceptible to failure. It is an ejection seat for the entire spacecraft, an option of last resort.
Okay, you know, that's never going to work, and it didn't work.
The decision to redesign the spacecraft to be more user-friendly and less automated, the failure of Mercury Redstone 1, the decision to send a chimpanzee into space on Mercury Redstone 2, and the final apprehension for Mercury Redstone 3. These are all things that may have served a critical role in making the end product.
Okay, they're getting ready to launch this into space. Fire everywhere. It looks good to me. It look good to you? Fire it up. Do it.
Getting frustrated.
He was on the line. He had to go pee. This is funny, you know. Hey, I got to go pee. That's the punchline.
The moment the capsule separates from the Redstone booster, Shepard will attempt to take manual control. He will test the spacecraft's ability to maneuver to various arbitrary attitudes with the hydrogen peroxide reaction control system jets, and then position it for retrofire. Strapped to the bottom of the heat shield is a small package containing 3 ripple-firing solid rockets. The package as a whole produces 5...
Hey, what did we learn about those black and white stripes? Aren't they supposed to be a joke and a mockery?
126 kilograms of thrust for a sustained 10 seconds. It means little on this flight, but for the upcoming orbital flights, this retro pack is essential in slowing the spacecraft down just enough to dip it into the atmosphere and initiate re-entry.
You see, now, refresher, I'll see if we're online here. Refresher. In their world, with their math, the Earth is spinning with the atmosphere. You have a vacuum in space, and you have a near vacuum that you can shoot a rocket into, that if you get it right in that groove, it can stay in perpetual orbit, and the Earth moves around it. Now, what they're implying is that they can speed that up or slow it down by applying jets in that very undescribed. They haven't told us how wide that near part vacuum area is between the spinning atmosphere and a stationary vacuum. So it's got to be like you're slicing meat at the deli. That thing, you know, that's a sharp, you know, because what did they say the atmosphere is spinning like? Pretty fast. And so anyway, when you come back in, you got to really sit right in from that, because you're coming scorching in on this vacuum, and then you exit the vacuum into a partial vacuum, a practical vacuum, near practical vacuum. You hit that, you slow down a little bit, you shake a little bit, and they turn red on the bottom, and then you kind of dip it back down into where the atmosphere is spinning, and that slows you down and heats you up a little bit more, a little more shaking going on there. And sometimes they're going like, oh man, I lost contact with Houston. And have you ever wondered, who does Houston call when they have a problem? Huh? People need to know.
The Mercury capsule itself has no primary engines. It relies entirely on this retro pack, which is jettisoned prior to re-entry, to facilitate retrofire. The retro pack imparts a delta V of just 560 kilometers per hour. Next to nothing.
Look, there's a window in this one. This is a model. As far as I know, they never launched one with the acrylic window. This is probably so that people in the museum, okay, I get it. I knew that, like Pee Wee Herman would say, except I didn't know that. I was like going like, where's this window coming from? And I was gonna bust them. Is that flat or is that curved? Here's the rocket over here. See where OK is? Here's the rocket. But I'm wondering, is that flat or curved? Because I can't tell. Cloudy day? Good tricking me. See, it still does a shaky. It gets still kind of hot there for a while. I don't want you to get scared. This is good. A little bit of your rocket design. Unique to American rockets in the early 1960s.
The primary weakness when contrasted with Soviet missiles
is they're too darn fat.
Rocket engines. American liquid rocket motor ignition reliability is less than 50%. As such, the Atlas is designed in such a way that all of its engines are ignited on the ground. No engines have to be lit in flight. It accomplishes this with an unprecedented stage-and-a-half concept. At launch, the Atlas sports an impressive 3 live engines, providing a maximum thrust-to-weight ratio when the vehicle is at its heaviest. A couple of minutes into flight, once the vehicle is in space and having depleted a lion's share of its fuel and mass, the outer 2 engines, called the booster...
You know, now they got that whole thing, you know, it's like, you know, I think here's the person that invented it's like, you know, look at she that job aged her.
The girl to check the numbers. Glenn is referring to human computer Katherine Johnson, whose expertise and talent in this area is known to many in Project Mercury. February 20th, 1962. With millions watching on live TV, John Glenn prepares to ride the Atlas into orbit for the first time.
All right, I know, but don't get too excited. He makes it.
Ship 7 should separate from the booster rocket and begin orbital.
I wanted to say something like bon voyage, but have a good time. And also enlist the aid of our Maker and
It's getting exciting, huh? There it is. There's some smoke. Here's some smoke over here. Go, John. Lift off. Clock is operating. They're shooting it up. Look at that. Now you got to turn it to go. You got to turn it like a surfboard. I've seen how they kind of like bend and turn. I think it's turning. It's in the green. It's kicking the butt. Let's check in later.
See how the spacecraft will age over time. Thus, the mission will progress one orbit at a time. Each night pass providing an opportunity to review data and the spacecraft status, determining whether or not the mission should continue.
This is Spaceship 7. You have a beautiful view of the African coast, both in the scope
And out the window. Out the window is by far the best view.
Glenn calmly operates and tests the spacecraft, making minor pitch and yaw adjustments.
I believe somewhere in here they make time. You know, there's that same famous photo a few minutes later, you know, for, oh, I see elements floating outside.
Flight aboard MA5. Glenn immediately starts to troubleshoot the situation, attempting to prove once and for all that the flexibility of man can augment the reliability of machine.
Roger, this is Friendship 7. I'm going on fly-by-wire so I can control more accurately.
I'm going on fly-by-wire. Was that a Freudian slippity-doo-dah day?
It just started as I got to Weymouth. It appears to be, it drifts off in yaw. To the right at about 1 degree per second. It will go over to an attitude of about 20 degrees and hold at that, and when it hits about a 20 degree point, it then goes into orientation mode and comes back to zero, and it was cycling back and forth in that mode. I am on fly-by-wire now and controlling manually, over.
The onboard automatic stabilization.
No wonder he kept getting elected to the Senate. You know that there were millions, 20 million or so watching on TV and millions more listening on radio because they didn't have a TV yet.
The control system is allowing the spacecraft to drift 1.5 degrees per second to the right. This drift initiates a signal in the computer system for an impulse to yaw left.
Now, I, like you, what have you heard? You know, they're getting these signals from the computer. This is 64. 5 years later, or when did they, you know, I guess even into their last flight, 72, they're saying that their computer, you know, couldn't power a Casio digital watch nowadays or something like that. You couldn't play Pong, and you guys want to do World of Warcraft games? Man. Ba 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 ba. Ba 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 ba.
But the RCS control system does not oblige this signal. Glenn switches to manual fly-by-wire and places Friendship 7 back in the correct attitude. Then, switching between the control modes, he determines how to maintain the correct position while incurring the least cost in onboard fuel.
Man, good thing he did too.
Signal is correct. The implication is that the heat shield may be loose. If so, John Glenn will have no protection against the 3,000 degree entry temperatures.
Woo! Partial vacuum.
Control scrambles to address the problem.
Say that over again now. I'm not sure I'm with you, Capcom. Well, we have balance segment 51 missing one over here, which is what? Indicating the landing bag is down. It's probably a malfunction of micro switch. We had it powered here. We also,
you know, to us in the future, they're talking, I believe. You know, we just go like, oh, it had a micro switch. This is 1964. And they've only gone 3 orbits. With a digital manual countdown, this flips to a 4. James Bond style. What are you going to do, John?
Of the panicked situation on the ground. However, he becomes suspicious when site after site consecutively asks him to ensure that his landing bag deploy switch is off.
Roger. Did someone report landing bag could be down, over? Negative. We did a request to monitor this and to ask you if you heard any flapping when you had high capsule rates. Negative. This was over. Well, I think they probably thought these particles I saw might have come from that. But there are thousands of these things, and they go out for, it looks like miles in each direction from me, and they move by here very slowly.
The operations team conclude that retaining the retro pack is the only possible way. And with the blessing of the designer, Faget choose this as the course forward. Tracking station
You know, that just looks too fake to look at. Give me something else, a little more fake, por favor.
Roger, fire retro light is green. Roger. Roger, retro to stop.
4.5 hours into flight, Friendship 7 fires its retro package and breaks out of Earth orbit. There was no turning back now.
It looked like I could see the top of the waves. What are they talking about? It just broke out of orbit.
Glenn was headed for a rendezvous with the atmosphere. He would either slow down or burn up. Glenn starts to hear noises.
Looks like I was wrong. It was 1962. Now, if this isn't Egyptian, you know, if these guys aren't and weren't, you know, but you can't blame me. I was only 3.5 years. I was only 4.5 years old.
That he describes as small things brushing against the capsule. The orbital reentry does not impart the high G loads of the ballistic flights. Its trajectory is much more depressed, and the spacecraft remains in the high atmosphere for quite a bit longer. But it does impart much higher peak temperatures. Glenn experiences his worst emotional stress of the flight as he watches burning chunks fly by his window. Likely pieces of the retro pack. Or were they pieces of his heat sheet?
Now, how could something, if he's going one way, you know, is he just, he's got his tail first. Now, I don't know. That's very suspicious. I don't want to promote their suspiciousness. Needless to say, he made it. He got elected. I think he ran for president. Was that him who ran for president with, oh no, that was the other guy with Sarah Palin. He was a war hero also. His name was John McCain. Let's see if it works out any better for this crew. Dang, come on. That's so fake. Getting towards the end, they really started to pump up the politics, I believe. We're going to go a few more minutes and wrap it up now.
Aurora 7 splashes down hundreds of kilometers away from the nearest ship. When Carpenter fails to raise a response by radio, he decides to leave his spacecraft. Opting to exfil through the auxiliary egress hatch at the top of the vehicle rather than through the primary side hatch, Carpenter inflates his life raft and crawls out into the ocean. It would be 1 hour and 7 minutes until Carpenter would be reached by recovery forces, who came upon him eating a candy bar and enjoying the view of the ocean. When he was picked up, he is quoted as saying, "I didn't know where I was, and Mission Control didn't either."
Wow. There's just such, you know, that's how they kept building the drama on what was their TV show.
Slow to conserve fuel. The sustainer engine on the Atlas rocket had continued burning 10 seconds longer than planned, sending Wally higher and faster than any other astronaut had gone or would go during Project Mercury.
Wow.
It was the first splashdown in the Pacific Ocean, just off Midway Island. Sigma 7 was the most successful Mercury mission.
Ladies and gentlemen, You know, I know, and the American people know it's all fake, but we allow certain things to be fake. I'm going to look up here. I know I can't play much of this, but you'll love it.
Raw features live.
Check it out. Glad you guys stuck around now. You get a couple more minutes. You're going to be the best part of the show.
You do know it's fake, right? More real than any other TV show, WWE Raw features live death-defying stunts performed in front of an audience of thousands every week. People who feel the need to tell you that wrestling isn't real clearly don't watch wrestling, because the show features an undead wizard, leprechauns, an evil group of male cheerleaders. This show does not pretend to be an athletic competition. Instead, it's a TV show about a wrestling show. It has more.
And whatever your life is, you think it's a TV show.
The character Hunter Hearst Helmsley is introduced in the mid-90s. Basically this snobby Connecticut blue blood character. He's from a super rich family, someone who his whole life has...
So it's, you know, they start with a guy that, you know, just as one of the characters.
Says, I'm the Russian guy. Wrestling was basically a Saturday morning cartoon. You see, this is where Shawn Michaels and Triple H come in. Shawn Michaels goes to Triple H and says, I have a plan to get us both noticed. Are you ready? And it's a crazy fucking plan. They get this big boon woman called China, and they pop out like, oh, suck it, suck my dick. Yeah, what up? Wrestling's R-rated now. Titty dick, suck 'em.
Yeah, because, you know, somehow if that's what they need, that's what they do, because it's a TV show. Then they tone it up, they pull it back, they tone it up, they pull it back, they connive. There's good guys, there's bad guys.
It's like, yeah, you're my bodyguards now. He builds an army. He's turned what was a friggin' movement in wrestling into a group of stormtroopers who he pushes in front of him whenever a real fight comes around. But having an army isn't enough. To really secure a kingdom, you have to get the princess. So he gets Stephanie McMahon, the daughter of the owner of the company, kidnaps her, drugs her, and marries her while she's passed out.
Okay, how about that? Wrestling, I guess, isn't fake.
At the top of the company. What's important to remember here is that the way this guy originally got power was by saying, fuck you to authority. But he's so scared of losing that title. Now he's got it and he won't let go. In Triple H's mind, this object is everything that he isn't.
Does that sound familiar to anybody? Some of you guys watched this and know it.
There are little cracks. Randy Orton is a crazy person. Batista has a serious rage problem. And Ric Flair is bold as fuck. And things get real hard when Shawn Michaels comes back. Hey, Triple H, it's me, Shawn Michaels.
I like turtles.
The Undertaker is a wizard, a satanic magician, and no, I don't know why he's a wrestler. He was part of this cult when he was a little kid. They sacrificed his 3 little girls. Now he's got this creepy guy Paul with him. He has this intense relationship with his demon brother Kane. It's all pretty fucking insane. And add to that, he commands a cult of hundreds of hooded figures.
You know it's fake, right?
Fight me again, then. No. You're not as good as Shawn Michaels. Bitch, I will fight you anywhere. I will fight you on the moon. It's going to be a Hell in the Cell match where I'm allowed to use any weapon I want. My sledgehammer. And the referee is going to be my best friend, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is like, we're chilling on the best friend. Then he'd be holding you. See, he gets to choose who fights for him. And Triple H is so insecure and so obsessed with this title that he is constantly interfering with real wrestlers because he can't let it go. He never proved that he was good.
Well, anyway, you get the idea. What's his? You know, it's all a TV show. Relax and enjoy it. I think there's more to life, people.
And that's what you need, man. That's what we all want. From Long John Silver to Perseus to Neo to Walter White. We love watching people grow, change, struggle. Good people, bad people, we don't care. We want to see it.
Well, I do care. I believe the Bible is true. I don't believe that, you know, you only live once. I believe you never really die. And I hope I got that across to you tonight. That's all I really wanted to do, was just spend 3 hours a night talking about the Lord and, you know, trying to tie things up. So let's just close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for your love, your mercy, your grace, your forgiveness. Father, my goal, and I know that 2 or 3 will agree with me, is to have angels rejoice when people come back to the Lord who didn't understand that Armageddon was over, and the Bible, as if their intuition was correct, let them feel that they knew they were being lied to, that this book is saying something else, and now they know. It happened then to them. It's happening now to us. In the end, God will win, and we will be rescued. Father, I pray that many people will understand that. And I ask it in our God in the flesh, Lord Jesus Christ's name. Amen. Hey, it's a flat earth nation. You know, I'm never going to tell you anything else. Why would I? I'm trying to prove that I have your best interest at heart. Amen. Hallelujah. Aho.